All right, so we got things a little bit more organized since last video. So that one on the bottom is a Craftsman Versus stack. Now Craftsman makes two different stacks. They make the thinner one, which is the Versus stack, and then they make a wider one, which is the same size as that Klein Tools. Okay. However, if I'm gonna buy one that's the size of the Klein Tools one, I like the Klein Tools one. Okay. Price point's good. It seems like they're more innovative, and I really like the way the drawers work. Anyhow, see how this drawer is this height right here? Or this shelf, I mean, is this height? That height will clear that Versus stack, okay? It might even clear the Klein Tools, but the problem is the Klein Tools will stick out too far if I put it in front of the wheel well, okay? However, where the Klein Tools is, so long story short, let's say I put a shelf, just like I did over here, where the hook is still exposed. You see how I can still put the hook in there? It's not there, but you see the bolt hole right there for the big hook, like I have over there, the big hook. Okay, so where those boxes currently are, if there was a shelf there, I could still get to that hook, which is good. Okay, I can still get to that hook, which is good. You can see if I start putting the boxes over here, oh shit, sorry. If I start putting the boxes over here, you got to keep them away from the wall so you can have access to that hook. Okay, so I'd still have to go with the same principle of the Versus stack in front of the wheel well, okay, and then the Klein on top of it. Now the shelf that I would put in, like basically there'd be a piece of wood basically almost sitting atop the Versus stack. Okay, I'd still do the angles like I do over here and support everything, but long story short, there would be those angles would be holding up a shelf that sits atop the Versus stack. Okay, and then the Versus stack is almost directly up against the battery, which is fine because you can still see the ports from the top side once the Klein Tools box is either slid over a little bit or removed. Okay, so I wouldn't have the shelf go all the way over to where it conceals from getting to the battery. If you pulled the Craftsman out of the way, you would be able to get to the battery no problem. Okay, especially if the shelf didn't go all the way over the battery. So then right there you have like a piano hinge that flops down from the shelf that can also flop up and get out of the way when the Klein's toolbox isn't in the way, or you can even bring the Klein's toolbox over because again it's going to be atop the shelf, which is above the tie-down hook. Okay, so that's that. What do you call it? So that's kind of like what I'm thinking. Now the other thing I realized was that Klein toolbox, they make one with wheels, and I was like, oh, there's not enough room for the one with wheels. Well, the more I'm looking at this, technically the one with wheels would probably fit right there and be flush with the Versus stack by the time you slide the wheels out. And not only that, but if there's a shelf there, the wheel might even protrude into that square right there. So that's going to be our next adventure. Is we're going to go to the hardware store, and I need to take a tape measure and go to the hardware store and figure out exactly what's going on with the one with wheels, because if I get the one with wheels also, then I'd have both of these. I'd have the one with wheels, I'd have this one, and then I have a stack. Okay, so we have these big 3 drawers, and the one with wheels has 2 big drawers, or it's like a cooler. Okay, but I'd probably get the one with the drawers. Maybe not, but I'd probably get the one with the drawers, because even the bottom drawer on it could potentially be used like a cooler. Anyway, I'm all up over in the air all over the place debating what I'm going to do with all this shit, but all I know is these things are handy. These are getting things organized. Okay, so something else. This fits underneath that shelf over there. It fits nicely on top of this shelf right here. Okay, it fits right here. It would fit on top of itself if I wanted to just go ahead and stack them all the way up and not even have a shelf there, and just stack all the way up. Okay, now granted, I'd have a gap behind it because this Klein Tools is, you see the wheel well. Okay, let me see if I can get it focused here. The wheel well is there. You see what I'm saying? So, and then the battery's back there. But what I'm saying is I could go ahead and stack those up and maybe even set something else back there. So you say, well, what would you sit back there? Well, you got things kind of like this floor jack almost that you could sit back there. But you also have things like the trolley dolly box, okay? You could sit back there. So you could set some things back there behind the Versa stack. Now the Versa stack right now doesn't need to be strapped to the ground. However, if I start stacking them up high, I'd make a base plate board for the Versa stack, and you can buy the cleats that hook the Versa stack into itself. Actually, you know what? I haven't verified that yet on the Versa stack. I have not looked to see if you can buy the cleats. You can buy the cleats for this. I'm sure you can probably buy the cleats for the Versa stack as well. But they're a little bit more tricky, the Versa stack is, to get them to lock. So I'm not so sure on that idea. I could probably manufacture something of my own little hooks to hold that Versa stack down. Anyhow, the point is, I'm up in the air between these two. All right. There's a big, okay, so then let's go over here. I can put those down on the bottom shelf long ways. Right now they're side to side instead of long ways, I call them right now. They can go down on the bottom shelf long ways, and I can put little buffers in between them. And then they're gonna kind of shimmy side to side unless I sit something behind them. They can slide back and forth on the shelf because it's wide enough. I can also keep them here, which I don't think I'm gonna do this, but I just want to point something out. I could put a board that's just as high as these are. Okay, maybe just a slight tad bit higher, if that. A board, a board, a board. Have another shelf that's on a hinge, okay? That closes, it's like on a piano hinge that closes down, and now you still have your shelf space because you do another one of these boards like this. You still have your shelf space, just another layer up, and now I've got all the shelf space here. And then I could still, now granted, I'd have to take it off to get to those, but the point is, if I folded that up, let's say I put the cleats on there for this thing, okay, and you put that thing on there with the cleats. The problem is when you hit bumps, it's going to be wanting to flop up. But if I put the cleats just right, it'll sit tight against the wall, and then it won't be able to really flop up because it'll be against the wall. And then meanwhile, it'll sit atop those boards, and then when you want to fold the thing up to get to these, you have two choices. You can either slide them out, or if you want to fold the board up out of the way so that you can get to it all, if that makes sense, like you're going to be like working on stuff and you want to leave these up here or whatever, you just fold the board up, you take the Versa stack that you would hypothetically sit up here, and you bring it down. Now remember, this is two Versa stacks. We could also put a third one or a fourth one for a total of 8 drawers. But you could have 6 drawers or 8 drawers right here too of this Versa stack thing. So anyway, I'm liking these things just for organization, for like the little kind of tool items, things like that. So they sell a big tool set for the Klein tools that sits atop here that's like clear. The problem is I kind of want to put a shelf. I don't know what I want to do yet. Anyhow, but I need to leave that back area open for things like this. And I need to have those hooks all exposed. All right, that's all I got. See ya.